Hey fellow duelists, it's RagingRaidRaptor here again, coming at you today with a brand new card discussion, looking at the recently revealed Supreme King Servant Starving Venom. It is a level 8 Dark Attribute Dragon Fusion monster with 2800 attack and 2000 defense points, with two very good effects and an interesting way that you can summon it. The first effect allows you to target a monster in either player's field or graveyard and copy both that card's name and effect until the end phase of your turn. Its second effect allows you to inflict piercing damage with any monster you control with the exception of this card. Additionally, this card can be summoned using traditional fusion cards like Polymerization or Dragon's Mirror, but can also be special summoned by attributing the correct materials that are needed to summon it, which in this case are two Dark Pendulum monsters. However, it cannot be special summoned by other methods, meaning that you cannot special summon this card back from the graveyard with an effect like Soul Charge. Its first effect is actually similar to the recently revealed Odd Eyes Venom Dragon, in the sense where it can copy other monsters' effects. However, the effect of Servant Venom is significantly more diverse than that card, as this card can actually work on any monster on the field or the graveyard, including your own, which gives it a lot more flexibility in terms of what it can actually utilize, such as being able to use the effect of Lunar Knight Leo Dancer to OTK your opponent, while the effect of the Odd Eyes monster will only work if your opponent has a monster on the field, which is significantly more situational in comparison. Although to be fair to the Odd Eyes monster, it can steal all of the attack points of the monster it stole the effect from. However, the additional effect of Servant Venom, although slightly unnecessary, definitely makes it easier to reduce your opponent's life points to 0 if you have other monsters on the field and your opponent is playing defensively. However, this card will be more difficult to summon despite the wealth of Dark Attribute monsters because of the upcoming rule changes and the link summoning mechanic, since Pendulum summoning any monster from the extra deck will be extremely limiting compared to what it used to be, even if you have a link monster on the field, meaning that you might not always be able to summon this card. However, you can summon this card with Odd Eyes Fusion by running both Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon and Odd Eyes Raging Dragon in your extra deck to summon Servant Venom, since they are actually Pendulum monsters. However, this might not always be possible, since Odd Eyes Fusion can only be activated when your opponent controls 2 or more monsters while you control none, which is a bit situational and will also mean that you won't be able to open up more link zones when you summon it in the extra monster zone. But even if this card does become easier to summon, the viability of this card will depend on what deck and cards you and your opponents are running. For instance, this card is incredibly useless if you try to copy the effect of an Xyz monster, based on the fact that most Xyz monsters need to detach a specific number of Xyz materials in order to use their effects, which this card will not have, since it has to be either fusion summoned or summoned through contact fusion. And although it might be too early to say at this point, this card may not be that good during the link summoning era. The reason I say this is because of the fact that cards like Decode Talker and Firewall Dragon need to have other monsters in their link zones they've created in order to use their effects, which Servant Venom cannot utilize since it can't create new link zones. Finally, because of the card text that says, until the end phase, this card's name becomes that target's original name and replaces its effect with that target's original effect, meaning that the effect that this card copied will only be able to be used on that turn, which makes this card only good if it copies a card with an effect with offensive applications like Scrap Dragon or Judgment Dragon, while copying the effect of a card with defensive applications like Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon will not benefit this card, since its effect will wear off before your opponent's turn. So in conclusion, I think this card has the potential for interesting player interaction, since it can copy your opponent's card effects, and might be able to help you extend your combos if you need to use an effect of one of your monsters in the graveyard. However, being able to summon it will be much harder because of the upcoming rule changes and will not have good synergy with Xyz and Link monsters in terms of copying their effects, while also not being very good during the early game where there might not be any monsters on the field or the graveyard. Although to be fair, it is still much better than Odd Eye's Venom Dragon. But ultimately, I want to know what you guys think. Will this card be easier to summon than I say it will be? Or will it be impossible to summon at all? I would really like to know. I've been RagingRaidRaptor, and I'll see you all again next time.